afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alissa, Coram, and Ed Carson here. And on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the charts of Tesla, Autodesk, and AMD. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. So here we have a chart of the Nasdaq, and it was a strong day on Wall Street. The Nasdaq finishing up strongly and hitting its highest levels in quite a while here, Ed. So just adding to this rally.
Yeah, I mean, nice. It sort of cleared that sort of handle-like formation, and we're going to see a lot of some stocks clearing handles today. Broke out. The S&P, which just nudged over the 50-day line, it got above, definitively above there, and even the Dow got above the 50-day line. Just strength across the board. The Bank of Japan announced some more stimulus, but more importantly, I think it was a lot of states are joining in saying we're going to open up. You're seeing Texas saying we're not going to extend or stay at shutdown order. New York sort of laid out its plan. Ohio, which was one of the early ones, they're going to start opening up gradually May 4th. The one exemption is the San Francisco area, which is likely to extend a lot of its order through May. But all that suggests, I mean, look, we don't know if it's going to work. We may get another coronavirus outbreak from it, but if states can open up with people still being social distance, then you might be able to see the economy pick back up, and that's what everybody's betting on.
Yeah, that's right. And one area that wasn't quite as strong today was some of the big cap tech names. So taking a look at QQQ here, not quite breaking out the same way that we saw the broader NASDAQ composite.
Yeah, and that's not the worst thing, because some people are saying, well, it's just a handful of stocks lifting the market. But Apple and Microsoft and Facebook, they were either flat or down. I mean, some of those stocks. And so, we actually saw a lot of strength in tech stocks, but not necessarily just these trillion-dollar names. So in some ways, it's positive when you see how the NASDAQ did. But, obviously, you want to see those big names do well, too, in a general sense.
Yeah, and speaking of strength in tech stocks, let's take a look at Tesla. A very strong day here, up over 10% and a breakout. Tesla, of course, widely followed and had a huge run up that peaked towards the beginning of the year, fell well off of those highs, but it's rebounding now pretty strongly.
Yeah, I mean, normally it's a 63, 64% drop on a base, and you're just like, well, maybe I'd look for something else. But, it's a nice breakout. The volume is a little above average, and for any stock breaking out on volume right now, given how much volume we had during the market crash, that's pretty good. The relative strength line, which is that blue line there, that's hitting a new high. So that's a positive. There's one of the reasons why it was rallying today is because there's hopes that production will start up soon. It's not clear. The San Francisco area, including where the Fremont plant is, they're supposedly going to extend the shutdown through May. Now, it was a little vague in terms of what if there might be some activities that might start up again. So maybe it'll be able to start up, but Tesla its main plant might be shut down while other auto plants in Europe and even in the US restart. And we also have earnings in 2 days. So anybody buying it here, there's a lot of risk, but that's with a lot of stocks. There's a lot of breakouts right now. I don't want to it's not just Tesla, but be careful how many stocks you're buying that have earnings this week, because there are a lot of stocks this week.
Yeah, that's definitely something important to note. And flipping on over to our stock of the day today, which was Autodesk in the software group. It did finish off of its intraday highs, but that relative strength line hitting a new high for this cup with handle breakout nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great action how it came down, but then a lot of the big techs did, and so it wasn't totally, it wasn't unique in that regard, and the volume was light. One reason why I like this is that it doesn't have earnings coming up soon. I mean, it's like there's not going to be a big shocker coming this week one way or the other. This is a stock that it had a bunch of failed breakouts in 2019 and looked like it finally was going to get going in that late end of the year. A bunch of breakouts, even though the numbers are pretty good. It switched over to software as a service, pretty strong revenue growth, even if it's slowing a bit. Really strong earnings growth. That's earnings growth is supposed to continue. But yeah, a lot of failed breakouts in 2019. Then it finally had a good one, at the end of 2019 into this year, and then the coronavirus crisis hit.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if it can continue to hold within that buy range. Like you said, earnings are not imminent for this one, so potentially time to build some cushion. But AMD, on the other hand, has been setting up. This is a chip stock that we've been keeping a very close eye on. As you can see, when it did pull back during that crash, it was able to hold above that 200-day line, which was pretty positive. Now we're seeing a handle here, but earnings, uh, we could see a big move potentially either up or down.
Yeah, it's a little scary coming into it. So I'm glad it didn't break out in that regard. It's, it now does have a handle in a daily chart. It already had it on a weekly chart. It'll show up after like 3 o'clock Pacific time. That'll show up as a handle, presumably at 58.73. So not a big discount over what the
Right.
buy point was. Yeah, we're, data center chips like AMD, NVIDIA, Inphi, Monolithic Power, those are all doing relatively well. Whatever AMD does, NVIDIA will probably do something similar, and NVIDIA is also in a similar situation. So, people are going to be watching closely on this. Of course, there's a lot going on tomorrow. AMD, Dexcom, Google, Massimo, Starbucks. It is crazy this week. Today is a little mild, but I was just looking, we've got like dozens before the open tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be really active in the whole market for the next several days.
And to get all the perspective you need on how to handle these stocks, IBD Live is the place to go. Tomorrow morning, you can catch our live stream starting 10 minutes before the opening bell, running through the first hour of trade. That's how we do it every trading day now. So make sure you come on and join us if you haven't tried it out already by visiting investors.com/IBD Live. And as you mentioned, Ed, a big week of earnings. So really crucial for investors to manage their positions during this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to like you have to be careful going into earnings. It's some people may, if you don't have much of a cushion, you may want to sell, but more importantly, don't go like be fully margined or fully invested with a bunch of stocks that are going to come out with earnings, because yes, you might win out and maybe it'll all turn out in the wash, but you could have 4 or 5 stocks that have a negative reaction, and all of a sudden you have massive losses even though you were doing everything right up until that point.
Mm, yeah, good point. But one thing's for sure, a lot of big names reporting this week, and IBD will have all the full coverage and perspective you need to make smart decisions with those trades. All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.